高半块蛋糕把吃了半块蛋糕 Yeah.
Hi, good morning. So today I wanted to show you a little bit of what I have been doing lately that I haven't been filming like a bad vlogger. All right. This has been my setup and I have really been enjoying it lately. I've always complained about having like shoulder and back pain. So what I did was I bought one of these what do you call them? They're the tilty table thingies that you're supposed to be able to use so you can use your computer in bed. I just put it on the table itself and I tilt it up so the degree isn't like as flat, so I don't have to hunch over as much. I know it's a bit of a mess, but I actually really love it. Like I really love just looking at all the materials like this. It makes me want to draw more.
Oh! Visitor. Dada. What's the name of Dido? Bahu.
No.
Dido Bahu.
No, what is this? What is this brainwashing? I got a little distracted there. I was gonna show you what I've been working on for the past couple of days. I've been practicing how to paint a darker skin tone. So this was the first attempt that I made. I like it because I was very experimental with color, but it's also quite muddy because I kept trying to go darker and darker and I just kept layering and it just turned out not great, the texture of her skin. But overall, I like the idea of it. And then this is the second one that I made, which I think was a bit of a more successful piece. I like the colors that I used. I could have definitely gone darker. If you see the reference, I posted it on my Instagram. You'll see that the skin tone should have been darker, but watercolor dries lighter, so it came out lighter than what I had anticipated, but this one came out too dark. So that was fun practicing that. And then I made this also out of watercolor and I'm working on another one here. I've just been really enjoying taking my time painting and not worrying about filming the process. To be honest, the paintings are always better when I don't film the process, and it takes twice as long whenever I have to set up the camera. I feel like because my attention is divided and I keep thinking to myself like, oh, what's the angle look like? Or have I been filming for too long? Or is this footage too long that I need to cut it and people are gonna be bored? So with that out of the way, I can just paint things and I enjoy the process so much more. I found the most convenient thing for me has been while I'm waiting for layers to dry, I can kind of document the process a little bit and then just post it on my Insta story. So that's been working out really well for me. So if you don't follow me on Instagram yet, be sure to follow me on my art account if you want to be able to see a lot of behind the scenes things for the creation of these types of paintings.
You got my head spinning. Is this just the beginning of the end? Oh, and now I'm just wishing.
Ako slow mo. Kaya na slow mo pa. Learn with patience. Bored na.
You want?
Done!
Yeah, 'cause I just wanna talk to you. I just wanna talk to you.
I am now going to attempt to do another painting today with the cameras rolling so that I have something to show you. And if that doesn't turn out well, then it doesn't matter because you will never see this footage. Let's get started. I wanted to walk you through my process for this painting. I have been trying to paint more and more regularly these days. Usually, I like to start with a sketch, mostly because I find when I paint freehand, although it is more fun, sometimes I make little mistakes that just bug me, and if I had just planned it out beforehand, then that wouldn't happen. So that's what I'm doing here. I usually don't use a ruler, I just freehand everything because I'm gonna paint it anyway and you're not gonna see the lines afterwards. But I think because I was filming it, I was kind of self-conscious and for some reason I couldn't draw a straight line. So I just grabbed the ruler and decided to make the marks that way. What I really wanted to focus on for this painting was the shadows more than anything else, and that's what I'm adding onto the sketch now. I paint a lot of standalone portraits, but I don't pay a lot of attention to the background, but I feel like the background does add a lot of dimension and story. So I wanted to practice creating a whole scene versus just painting somebody's face or like a 3/4 view. And I'm also trying to be more creative with the poses so they're not so static and just the usual smiling looking at the camera portrait. So I'm trying to play with different body positions and poses. Also for clothes, I wanted to get better at painting more interesting pieces of clothing with more patterns, and I really wanted to be able to show like the different folds and like make it look like actual fabric versus just a flat layer of paint. To start off this particular painting, I covered the entire page with a layer of water so that I could paint the underlying layer wet on wet. I don't really know if I achieved that, to be honest. I feel like the paper absorbed the water too quickly, and because I was still setting up the camera and everything, by the time I went in to paint the background layer, it kind of was not as wet as I would like. The paint ended up applying really streakily and I had to add several layers, which in the end didn't bother me because it created a lot of interest in the background. Like, it's not just a flat layer, it's, you know, shades of yellow. So the reason why I'm adding a layer of yellow underneath the painting is because I want all the highlights, the lightest layer, to be this color. And I feel like this would create a more monochromatic and cohesive look for the entire painting. You want to wait for the first layer that you've painted on to dry before adding on details. Sometimes if your paint is still wet, when you add on another layer, it doesn't come out the color that you want, and it will actually lift the paint underneath it and it'll come out lighter than you anticipated. And also, I wanted to wait until the paint dried so that I could see what the lightest shade was going to be, and if I needed to make that lighter, or how dark the following shades needed to be in order to have like a proper contrast between them. To create the shadows for the folds of the clothing, what I did was I added a little purple to the same shade of yellow that I was initially working on, and that created a brown, darker brown shade, but still yellowish, so it's still in the same tone. And then I'm using that to paint in the different folds and the shadows in the fabric. So this is something that I like to do a lot. I like to just adjust the colors that I'm already using. That way I'm sure that they kind of work well together and I don't have to worry about it not complementing the original layer that I put in. I don't really plan out my colors beforehand, which is something I really should get better at doing. But instead, what I have been doing is I take like a little strip of watercolor paper where I swatch before I paint it onto the final painting. And then I swatch it while holding it up to the painting itself so I can see what it looks like next to the other colors. But really, I should be making color comps, which I'm going to try to do after this. These are the shadows that I was talking about earlier that I really wanted to play with and emphasize for this particular painting because I just feel like it adds so much visual interest. Now I'm testing out what blue would look best against this shade of yellow, and kind of adjusting the blue. So I chose the same blue that I used in the painting on the left, mostly because it was in my pan and that was just the most convenient for me. But I found it too, I don't know, the shade of blue just wasn't right. Like, it was not deep enough of a blue, so I added a bit of purple to that blue as well to create this deeper shade of blue. And once again, I'm adding a little bit more purple to the same blue that I had mixed earlier to create the shadows and the folds for the clothing. As I start to add more and more color and darker shades to the painting, you can see that the initial background layer that I painted is looking lighter and lighter. Moving on to working on the car, I actually struggled painting this car a lot. I realized while painting it that I don't really have a frame of reference in my mind for what cars actually look like and what color looks like reflecting off of shiny surfaces, essentially, like the bumper or the actual coating of the car. I was tempted to add a lot of detail, but at the same time, I really wanted to keep it loose and kind of abstract, but not really in a way. Like, I wanted to make sure that you saw it and you knew that that isn't the main focus of the painting itself, that that is just a part of the background. So I didn't spend too much time worrying about the details. I just kind of wanted the broad strokes of what a car would look like. Now for the fun part, those lines that I drew in during the sketch phase, I am adding them in using the same shade of browny yellow that I used for the folds of his clothing. And then to ground the piece a little bit more, I'm adding a grayish blue color, the same blue that I used for his tracksuit, but making it more gray. I added that to the floor to make it look like concrete. This is the most nerve-wracking part for me, painting on the skin, because I am always so worried that I'm gonna mess it up. And the first stroke that I put down, my immediate thought was, oh, that's way too dark or that's way too orange. But when it dried, you really just have to trust the process. When it dried, it was fine. It's just when you first apply it, it looked really dark. But I always have to remind myself that watercolor dries lighter than what you first anticipate. And also because of his pose, because he's looking downwards towards the viewer, part of his face would slightly be in shadow. So I tried to capture that while I was painting his skin. And then for the hair, I'm honestly not sure if I made the right choice going for just a bluish black for the hair. The same color that I used for the ground, actually, just to kind of tie that back in. But I don't know. I don't know if I like it. I guess it's okay because it kind of brings your attention back up to him. Anyway, so what I've been doing a lot for hair lately is just painting the strokes in the direction where I imagine the hair would be going, but then wherever there are gaps where the paintbrush would, naturally leave gaps while you're painting, I just kind of leave it because I imagine that is what your hair texture would look like, and that's what the highlights in your hair would look like. And now I'm adding on the final details to the face. Just to give it a little more definition, I did end up lining his nose, which I kind of regret. Like, I wish I had just left it with the pencil because I feel like that was enough and now it's a little too defined, especially underneath, but there's nothing I can do about that now. So this is what the final piece looks like. Hey guys, it is the next day. I ran out of time yesterday because I had to jump onto a video call with my friends, but this is where I got up to. So I'm basically done. I'm not really sure what else I need to add to it. I remember thinking yesterday that it's not quite done yet and I need to finish it today, but looking at it now, I don't really remember what I wanted to add. So I think I'm just gonna edit the video, think about it a bit, and then start another painting today. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for sticking all the way to the end. I will see you all next time. Bye!
I just wanna talk to you.